I see the mullet fish for them, if I can't see them, I'll go for the bass if there's fish already shown just by that boat. Right close in. I'm not confident when there's just single fish coming through. Right, let's put sleeper out. Oh, bollocks. Oh, look at that. That would be a bolt rig and a half, that. That's 25 wraps, that is. 25 and a half wraps, actually. Oh, that's perfect rod rest, that is. That's a bloody good rod rest, that, isn't it? Look. It's even got a V in it. Keep an eye on that, Chubmeister. Noddies United.
With the old sleeper left to work his magic, Gale set about making a few casts on the fly. Although it was obvious pretty early on that it was only 1 or 2 mullet moving up the margins.
I'm going to have to go up there and have a look because there's not enough fish. There's only the occasional one passing at the moment. Come on, sleeper, do your thing. Oh, there's a bite. Yeah, look. They don't look very bassy. Something tiny on there. Oh no, it isn't. It's a reasonable, well, there's a bloody mullet next to that. He's got his mouth. Oh, it's that massive worm. Look at that rig. Get a picture of that rig. I'd got a lot of thought into that. It's a stiff rig, by the way. Right, ready to go back? There was a mullet there, by the way, when that bass came in.
Well, the old nod rig had worked this magic and hung itself a bass. I couldn't help but admire the craftsmanship that Gale had used to construct it. I can definitely say it's not my style, but in truth, I know it isn't Gale's either. He'd much rather catch a decent bass on a lure, and as he rigged up his rod, we were joined by another angler. Slopping his way through that old estuary mud was my old mate Zack, and with a lure rod slung over his shoulder, he too was there for a bass. Side by side, Gale and Zack made a few casts in search of bass. Gale opted in for an old school Rapala lure that had done him proud in the past. It was actually a surface popper which spluttered lovely on the retrieve. Working back the lure, Gale kept his eyes peeled for mullet.
Did you see that mullet there? Look, it's just down there. Like half a rod length there.
Zack, on the other hand, had chosen to go for a sinking rubber shad that was just bounced across the estuary bed. And with conditions being so good, with an overcast sky and a gentle breeze, it wasn't a surprise to see Zack bent into his first estuary bass.
Well done, Zack. Ain't that bad, is it?
Oh, so, no, it was just coming towards me, that's all. Lovely thing.
Give me the net, Zack.
I'll grab it, I reckon. She's well hooked, I think. Scrap lovely on this gear, didn't they? I'm only fishing a light rod.
That's a nice fish, that.
Happy with that, look at that. Ah, spiky old buggers, aren't they? Too spiky. Awesome. Nailed that little shad, that.
With Zack's bass safely returned, the focus was swung back to Mullet, and as Gale grabbed his fly rod, those unmistakable fins started swirling in the margins.
Oh, there's a few there. Fish, there's fish down there, look. That's a good fish, that one. That's a nice fish. Maybe I'll have a cast. You see him in that float? Come right up to it now. Yeah. Not a big one. Yes! It's a wrap! First cast as well. Not usually like that. That's a beauty there. Not massive, but perfect. First cast, can't be bad. Hey. Yeah, well chuffed. Let's see if there's any more about. You don't often get a take with that few fish. You want, it's the same as like if you're a shoal, if you've got one or two chub, you've got less of a chance of catching than if you've got a shoal of 30 competing, you know. There's still some there, look, 20 yards down there. Look, see, look, can you see them, look?
Yeah. You not ever put a little bit of ragworm on that then, just give them a little bit to...
If I was desperate, I would.
In fairness, the static fly is a bit unusual, and it's not a method that me or Zack had seen before. But for Gale, he had full confidence. And to be honest, why wouldn't he? He's caught some belters in the past, with both thick and thin-lip mullet to specimen size.
There's usually more of them up there. I think they're on that second point, this side of the second point. The mud pit of doom.
Well, it wasn't called the Mud Pit of Doom for no reason, and as Gale struggled to get his foot in, I started to wonder if it was all worth it. Eventually though, he found himself stood like a heron looking out for those mullet. He assured me it was a good area to catch one, but he was governed by the tide and racing against the clock. Luckily though, it wasn't long before that old fly rod was bent in half again, as another mullet slipped up to the fly. In typical mullet style, it beached itself in the margins, the mullet too entering that same mud pit of doom. After a rest and a washdown, the mullet was slung over Gale's shoulder and he headed back with his prize.
I am victorious. Jesus.
How big do you reckon it is?
Don't know. Pushing 3, I suppose.
Lovely fish, well done.
Yeah, Zack, you're going to get still of that. No, just have it jump out my hands.
That'll be the next thing,
Right,
won't it?
what I'll do is I'll do that.
Lovely one.
You ready, Zack?
Yeah, Lovely times, well done, Gale.
Yeah, nice one. Right, don't know where she is.
She went out that way, I just saw
Oh,
her.
did she? Well done.
Yeah, she went out.
Wunderbar.
As Zack flicked back through the photos, it was clear that he'd made a lovely job. To be honest, in a world full of mirrorless cameras, it was nice to see that the old 6D still held its place. That clunky SLR still took a cracking shot, and this one was my favourite. Although not a big one, it was a beautiful mullet, and hopefully a sign of things to come.
Don't you think it's weird how that fish just bang, just
Yeah.
suddenly, they're everywhere and then
John,
nothing.
opportunist fishing as well.
Yeah, it is, exactly, yeah, exactly, that's exactly what it is.
Make it happen.
Yeah. That's my favourite type of fishing, that.
Yeah.
You've got to be on it straight away, not go, oh, well, I'll have a go next week, and they'll be behaving exactly the same, which they never are, you know.
With the tide starting to come back in, it was time to leave, and we said goodbye to Zack, and me and Gale agreed that we'd meet up the following day to see if he could catch another one on the fly. And as we were almost in November and the mullet season coming to a close, Gale was keen to see if he could catch a big one before it was all over. Waiting for the tide to ebb, me and Gale spent a bit of time in the estuary. Conditions were exactly the same, and we knew that once the tide dropped, there'd be a chance of a mullet. In the meantime though, we explored and enjoyed the surroundings, and to be honest, what a beautiful place the estuary could be. Gale had always said that the environment in which he angles is equally as important as the species or size of fish that he's catching. And with the estuary offering the best of both worlds, it was easy to see why Gale spent so much time here. Not only was it a beautiful environment, but mullet and bass were beautiful too. And as the tide dropped back out, his thoughts turned to catching one. A quick dash back to the van to grab his fly rod, and he was soon back across those mud flats. As we arrived in the scene of yesterday's victory, so too did the mullet, and as they fed in yesterday's footprints, surely there was going to be a chance.
So you can get to about where these footprints are, but not really any further. Ooh. Oof, few fish. Oh, can you see that front fish? That is a decent fish, that. He's in front of me now, that's a decent fish. He seems to be where there's been quite a few constantly. Now, the fish just come in. Go on. I'm exactly the right distance out. It's about, you want to be 15 inches to 2 foot out, I think. That's where they're patrolling. So if you're on where they're patrolling, you've got a chance. And that is exactly where I've seen most of them. Oh, yes. Oh, that's a nice fish, that. Quite a decent one. Taking a bit of line. Yes. Can't put much more pressure on. Going well, look at that. Woken up, I think. Come on, come on. Come on. Get in. Yes. Not a bad one. Nice clean one. You beauty. That's on the dropper. That's a beauty, that. Not big, but £3 probably. We go. Nice.
As the sun set over the estuary, I realised what a special place it could be, and that being a coarse angler, I totally neglected the coastal scene, but it had so much to offer. And next spring, I vowed with Gale to return, with no camera this time, but instead, a fly rod.